Hi, ThatPaulGuy. A couple of days ago, I wasn't exactly too kind to AMD's Ryzen 3 Pro 4350G. Today I'm going to fix that. Okay, so the other day I posted a video about the AMD, the Ryzen 3 Pro 4350G. And it's a decent processor, don't get me wrong. I don't have any problems with that. It was a little bit of a pain trying to get, but I had some big problems trying to get drivers to install. Because as it turns out, the default graphics driver that AMD tries to steer you toward is 21.5.1 or point 0.2, I don't remember which one it was, but it tries to steer you to that as the default driver. That's a no-go because that gives you, or that helps you experience the problems that I was experiencing the other day. But me, not one to give up very easily, I kept digging until I found an older driver, and as it turns out, the Adrenaline driver 21.3.1 does in fact work. See the software, see the it sees the CPU, the graphics on the processor. It sees Windows 10 as being valid because last time I was having a problem where it did not recognize the operating system. Well, now all of a sudden everything is valid, everything works, and this is the one that is actually marked stable and not preferred or optional. So this one does in fact work, and what I found is that putting this 4350G now on that Asus Prime X470 Pro motherboard with the memory and all that, and giving it a chance to stretch its legs a little bit, makes this 4350 go toe-to-toe with the later produced 5600G that comes in that HP pre-built that I also did a video about. Now, we'll take a look at a couple things here. And one thing I want to, before I get started doing that, two things actually, 2 points. If you want to help promote my silliness and getting this stuff and doing this, probably the easiest way is just to go to buymeacoffee.com. It's all one word, buymeacoffee.com. And you can throw me like $5 or something. Buy me a coffee. That'd be more than enough appreciated. It'd be awesome. It'd be a way to help me kind of finance these little whatever I'm doing here, these little experiments and ill-gotten technology. But anyway, the other point is, do I think I owe AMD an apology for saying that the 4350 wasn't decent in graphics or couldn't really be adapted to any kind of game playing? No, and I'm going to tell you why. Because first of all, this 4350G is not typically available in the United States. It's an OEM type product, which means it has to go with a motherboard typically or in a system somewhere, and you're not normally supposed to get one without the other. So it's very, very difficult to get in the first place. And then you have to go digging for drivers. So not only is it a difficult processor to get, but those folks that are resourceful enough to go out and try to find one of these because you can't get a graphics card are looking for other options. So they find something like this, they're going to put it in their system, they're going to try to get it to work, and it's not going to because the preferred drivers for this don't work. So no, I don't think I owe AMD an apology. However, the workaround and everything, this turns out to be a pretty good processor. Now we're looking at Shadow of the Tomb Raider. There's about a 10% increase over the 5600G in all games across the board. At 1080p, at 900p, and at 720p. It did very, very well. I was very impressed with it. In Borderlands 3, not that big of an improvement, but it was a little bit of an improvement and very playable. It ends up being very playable throughout. I didn't have any issues with it. And not only, and by that I mean there wasn't any frame drops or something like that where you might have an average of 35 or whatever frames per second, but you've got these stutters because it drops down to like 8 frames per second or something in places. And it was very playable all the way through. In Dirt 5 is one of those games that has the auto choosing for you, and it did very well in that. It's very good in 1080p. 1080p in low settings excelled. It was very, very good, but it's playable in all the others, so don't get me wrong about that. In Far Cry 5 and CSGO, I think Far Cry 5 worked better with this chip, the 4350, and it's almost an apples to apples comparison, maybe an apples to pears comparison, but the 4350 did slightly better than this, but CSGO, because the other processor I believe has more cores, handles that better, even though the video is not quite up to par. But what happens when you put just, say you do get a chance to upgrade later, and you go from this APU that AMD sells you, which turns out okay, to an actual graphics card trying to play 1080p games? Well, I've got a GTX 1650 Super. It's an Asus Phoenix model with 4 gig of RAM, 4 gig VRAM, and oh my goodness, green flag racing. All of these, and I went back and I tested all 5, and you can see the results here. I didn't go back over and test them to get 720p or 900p. These are all in 1080p, and all very playable and all very good. Especially a game like CS:GO that jumped into nearly 200 frames per second. I mean, you just, by getting an APU like this and holding out for a little while until you can get just even a basic, almost entry-level graphics card, you can do yourself some pretty big favors. So would I go out and try to do this on purpose because, you know, out of desperation or whatever? Maybe, maybe not. The processor itself cost me almost $200. You might be able to find you know, a graphics card somewhere like a 1650 or a 1050 Ti or maybe a 1070 or something. You might be able to find something like that. Right now, what I understand is like RX 570s and RX 580s. If you can find them for 4 gig, they're going to be a little bit less expensive. I might try to do that instead, but this is a viable option if for somehow or some reason or some way you can beg, borrow, steal, or whatever one of these 4350Gs. The 4650G, I've seen a couple other people do some benchmarks on it, and it turns out it's even better and very playable. So it is an option. It's a more difficult option to get a hold of. It's a more difficult option to try to update the drivers, but it is a viable option. The next thing we're going to do in this system, which is going to be later, is we're going to go ahead and take that 5600G out of the HP prebuilt, the new prebuilt, and we're going to put it in this same system to test apples to apples, the 4350 and the 5600G, and see which one of those does better. I'm not really convinced that the 5600G is going to do that much better than this 4350G. But it is, like I said, it's a viable solution. If that's all you got, or you get a chance to buy a prebuilt or have one of these that's in it or something like that, go for it. Otherwise, you know, the crypto market might be having a little bit of an issue. We might be starting to see some video cards coming on the market soon. Who knows? Don't give in to the scalpers, guys. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, that's all I got for right now. I thought this was important enough to go ahead and post before I do the tape trick on the Q6600 from Intel, which I am done. I'm editing, putting all that together, but I thought this was probably more important to put out first, and so that's why I've done that. So don't forget to visit me on the other social media. If you like the video, go ahead and hit like. If you dislike, yeah, you can hit dislike, but let me know what I did wrong. And please don't forget to subscribe. I'm really trying to push for all the subscribers I can get. Every little bit helps, and it's absolutely free. So really helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and I'm very grateful. But anyway, until next time, which will be the Intel, that Q6600, so if you guys want to see that, stay tuned. But until next time, I'll see you later.